struggle. Everything you try to do somehow just does not go to plan. You have these big dreams. However, the realities of life have come along like a pair of boxing gloves and beaten you up, forcing you in your mind to give up. I hear some people say it's been really hard for me. I've tried and tried. My finances are low and I have no one to turn to for help. There are many things in your life that you may run out of. You can run out of money. You can run out of friends. You can even run out of resources. However, you must never, ever run out of hope. If you lose hope, somehow you lose that vitality that keeps life moving. You lose that courage to be, that quality that helps you go on in spite of it all. Many great achievements of the world were accomplished by tired and discouraged men and women who kept on working with hope in their heart and mind. Hope is the vein through which your dreams and aspirations flow through. In troubled times, hope gives you a PhD in getting back up, while a lack of hope gives you a master's degree in not succeeding. A life void of hope has no care. A life absent of care has no meaning. A life without meaning has no purpose. And a life fueled without purpose has no direction. And a life with no direction just drifts along endlessly. Only pausing when faced with the inevitable question we all have to ask ourselves one day: what have I done with my life? When we were children, we hoped too much. As we grow into adults, we do not hope enough. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Everything that is done in the world is done by hope. As oxygen is to the lungs, so is hope to the meaning of life." Breathe new life into your past or present aspirations, whatever they may be, with a massive injection of hope. Remember, he who does not hope to win has already lost.
Good evening and welcome. Good evening and good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of Make Health Your Habit podcast live. It's really a pleasure to be with you every single evening. I hope you're doing well. We're in the middle of a lockdown. How long have we got now? So we've been there nearly 2 weeks. I hope it's been as best as it can do for you, because I know for some people the lockdown has been a terrible thing. The isolation, the worry, we've covered that in this show, and I think in future episodes we will cover that. But I hope that you are coping as well as you can do. And this show is part of that journey in just trying to help you stay healthy during not just the lockdown, but throughout, because I continuously talk about proactive healthcare. And this is what this show is about. It's about making health your habit. Now, as you would know, my name, or hopefully you know, my name is Ken. I'm the L.E.A.N MindBody Coach. My methodology of keeping well is the L.E.A.N MindBody Method, where I focus on low-carb nutrition, effective sleep, exercise, and having the right mindset. But that is not the only way to be healthy. Over the next course of weeks, I've got some people who have some different ways of staying healthy, because this show is all about being healthy. And as I said, low carb, sugar reduction is not the only way to stay healthy. And I normally start with what's in the news, but it's just the same as last week. All that's been in the news this week is about the COVID-19 and the vaccination. I mean, they seem to be obliterating us with news about this vaccine, and I know there are differing opinions about the vaccine, its efficacy, and whether people are going to take it. I always say to you, look, you can't meter for whether you catch coronavirus, but you can create a holistic well-being body. So if you do catch it, you are in a better state to be able to handle it. That's in your control. That's what this show is about. That's what the Wednesday show is about, which I'll tell you more about later on. I know I sound like I'm repeating myself every week when I talk about this proactive healthcare. But it's so true, and so many people really don't take it seriously, really don't take their health seriously until they get to a point when they're losing it, and then they start to take it seriously. Why wait till then? And today, I've got a gentleman who I've been watching for a while. His journey for a while, an incredible story he's got, and his way of being healthy is through herbal teas. Now, teas have been seen as having medicinal properties since the um, ancient times, and he's going to share his story with us. But before he does that, let me just see who is on the line with us today. I know Mr. P just said hello. Hello, Mr. P. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube and you just fancy saying hello to myself and Mark, please say hello. Hi, sir. Hi, sir. Is Duncan on the line? Great to see you, Duncan, if you're here. And Mr. P, great to always see you. Just say hi. It makes me feel loved while I'm giving my basic introduction here. So teas have been used as a medicinal property for years, and it's so great that this gentleman has really embraced that journey and created a whole phenomenal business out of it. And you're going to hear today how you can use herbal teas to be able to improve your health and well-being. So, good evening, Isaiah. Nice to see you. That is Isaiah is going to be on the show next week. Great to see you. Hi, Michelle. Looking forward to the talk tonight. Good to see you. Thank you very much, Michelle. Good to see you on the show. Dunstan, great to see you. And as I said, Isaiah will be on the show next week. He's actually going to be our first international guest next week. So he's from America. So Isaiah, great to have you on the show. And Michelle and Dunstan. Is there anyone else who just wants to say hello? Because I'm like, I like to feel love. It makes me feel welcome when people say hello. So who else is on there? Greetings, Isaiah. Yes, Dunstan, that's great. So, this is streamed live on Facebook and YouTube every single week. And you know what I want to say to you is this. Hi, Debbie. Good evening. Good. I haven't heard from you in a while. Good to see you. Good to see you on the show. I really want this show to be about you. So I tell you what I want you to do. If there are some topics that you would like me to cover in the show, let me know. Just let me know, either in the chat today, or send me an email, or send me a message on Facebook. If there are particular topics that you would like me to cover in this Make Health Your Habit show, then please let me know. And more importantly, if you feel you could be in the hot seat in the Make Your Health Habit show, let me know. If you feel you have a story, if you've got something that can help people make health a habit, and you fancy being in the hot seat, just let me know. Send me a message, send me an email, Facebook, and then we can see if we can get that on. So good evening to everyone. I really appreciate you taking the time out to be here. So let me just move on and just move the comments just one moment while I introduce my guest. So as I said, this guy, I have an incredible amount of respect for him and his journey and what he has done. But I'm just going to allow him to tell you his story. Good evening, Mark, and welcome to the Make Health Your Habit show. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you, Ken. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Yeah. Good evening, Steve. Good to see you on the show, Steve. Yes, Mark. I really have a lot of respect for you, and I know your story, and we'll go into that in a moment. But first, just allow the people to understand a little bit about. Just tell the audience a little bit about you, Mark, and and how you started this journey that you're on.
Okay, well, as you know, my name is Mark Dalgety, founder of a company called Dalgety Teas, who manufacture herbal teas, 100% natural, strong flavored herbal teas. The journey actually started almost 25 years ago. I think actually last month, October, was the 25th year since we started. And it was born out of, in those days, which is over 25 years back, a lot of herbal teas on the market, especially in the UK and in Europe, were made of a lot of artificial flavorings. And I grew up in Guyana, where we drank a lot of herbal teas. It wasn't actually called herbal teas in those days. It was actually called bush tea. And what I felt was interesting USP is to introduce the European market to Caribbean flavored herbal teas. But the main thing we were concerned about is keeping it as natural as possible, 100% natural, and ensuring that the true strength of the product was maintained. So, I mean, normally people say before they even drink Dalgety tea, they smell it. It comes, oozing through the boxes and, I mean, into your living room, into your kitchen before you even put the tea bag in your cup. And that is what we've always tried to achieve, you know. So the journey started about 25 years ago, hit the UK market with one tea at that time, about 30 lines. It was the first tea was Cersei. And it wasn't in a tea bag, it was just in a loose 1 ounce packet, which we began marketing into independent retail shops in the UK, which I did by myself, going into shop to shop, um, right across the country, from London to Birmingham to Leeds to Sheffield to Bath, Bristol, literally doing door-to-door sales, as they said. I mean, into retail shops everywhere. There was a high ethnic community, and that's how we built our brand. Then we obviously expanded using that same concept into global markets, North America, moved up into Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, and we actually sold the same tea back to the Caribbean, although the bulk material came from the Caribbean.
Mark, you mentioned bush tea. I mean, I grew up with my mum talking about, came from Jamaica, and she grew up taking from bush tea, and there was nothing nice about it. There was nothing that tasted nice. It was like, as soon as you had an ailment, the bush tea, and it was something you had to drink and hold your nose. But I know your teas are not like that. I know your teas don't have that.
No, that's because she was giving you Cersei.
Oh.
I'm sure it's the Cersei. I think most Jamaicans, I mean, that's the tea that you give them from the time you're born. Because it's supposed to be the tea that is good for anything. I mean, you stump your toe, you have a headache, whatever it is, the first thing you think about is Cersei. It's all about cleansing your blood. And as I said, that's actually the worst tasting tea that we do. But it's also one of the top selling ones and the best one for you. That's the interesting thing. The worst tasting, the top selling, and the best one for you.
well, let's go into a little bit later on about a couple of your teas, Cersei. As I said earlier on, teas have been used since ancient times. I'm just curious, what got you your interest? Was it just because you had it growing up? Was it a health thing? Was it just really what got you interested in doing herbal as a businessman, where there were so many other things that you could have done?
Ironically enough, it's nothing to do with the health part of it. I actually come from an engineering background. I'm a chemical engineer. That's why I studied, So what I actually like doing is making things. And the passion was growing out to looking at something like bush tea, which I felt when I realized that what the Europeans were calling herbal teas, we were calling bush tea, but we were still literally just taking the bush, putting it in a pot, boiling it, and brewing it. And I just thought it was just ridiculous, So my passion was actually growing out to, teaching farmers in the Caribbean. I mean, because it wasn't a product that was actually established. So I actually had to go teach farmers how to dry it properly and then take it through the whole process of drying, chopping, blending, tea bagging, packaging it to the full process that you're seeing here now. So my passion was more, especially in the early days, was more about a passion of making something proper that I felt that I could bring from the Caribbean and present anywhere in the world, walk whether it's in Egypt or wherever, and say, look, this is a product from the Caribbean, have my head up high, and feel I could present it anywhere, to whether it's Sainsbury, Tesco, or Asda. So that was where my passion was in first. I actually only began to learn about the different teas as we began to develop different ones, and people came along and said, oh, why don't you do lemongrass? Why don't you do peppermint? Or I use this bush or the ginger teas that we like with scraping ginger into their teas and so forth. And that came afterwards. And then that was the next stage of understanding which tea next to do. And then the final one was obviously dealing with the health benefits, which was like the third gear in terms of, saying, well, actually, you know what, if you drink lemongrass, it's good for, if you've got malaria or if you've got indigestion, peppermint is good for you. Or if you drink turmeric, it's good for inflammation in your system. And that actually came in the third stage. But the original passion was all about making something.
You know what? I love that. And the reason why I love that is because your business was founded on quality. It's founded on a standard and delivering something of a standard. So that from its instance, assures me of the quality of your product, because you know your product is your name, your brand, and you wanted to stand by that, and you wanted to create a product that could stand up against any product in the world, and that's absolutely great. That's a big. Good evening, Donovan. I see Donovan Grant on with us this evening. So I I know I read your bio a little bit, and it was you started with, I think it was 1,000, and then you then sold that and the demand, and you reinvested that back in. Just tell us, I just wanted a little bit about that beginning part of your journey.
Okay, well, actually, what had really transpired is that after I finished studying, I was trying to relocate to Guyana, but I actually had a mortgage in the UK, and that was a bit of a challenge, being able to live in Guyana with a UK mortgage. So once I came up here, I was looking for potential opportunities. And whilst walking through Brixton, an old Chinese Guyanese guy asked me if I could get Soursop Tea bush. And then well, in Guyana, we actually call it Corilla. So I said, well, yes, but I mean, a bit unusual. That why would anybody want, bush tea over here, I said, yeah, man, I mean, people use it for diabetes. And I said, how much do you need? He said, any amount. I said, any amount? That's a crazy number to be using, He said, yeah, you bring 5,000, whatever thousand you mean, I'll take it. I'll pay you about 50p each. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take the jump because I just arrived here. It's totally flat broke. I had about £1,000 left in my credit card. I was now coming to try and make money. I normally would come over to London, make enough money, leave it in my account for about 6 months, to cover my mortgage, head back to Guyana and spend 6 months as I tried to relocate. So we headed straight back down to Guyana. I think those days was about £400 or £500 to get a ticket back there. Went into the rural areas where my grandparents were. And with some other guys, we went into what you call the farms or the back dam and collected about £1,000 of the Soursop bush. And luckily, my parents weren't in Guyana at the time, but I sat down in the living room and with the scissors cut the £1,000 of Soursop bush into 16,000 1-ounce packets and put them into some small packets and brought them back to England and sold them at 50 pence each. Over 3 months period and raised almost about £8,000. I mean, actually, as I said, it was first a means to end until when again, Brixton again, in the shop, she mentioned to me, oh, could you get a tea bag version? He actually made it as a joke. He said, you calling this thing tea, but it's not even in a tea bag. And then is when it dawned on me, I think at that point in time, sometimes something comes to your head and I went home, sleeping tea bag. That is when I started to realize, by the way, that stuff these guys are calling herbal tea is bush tea in a tea bag. So that's where the passion grew out of. And I mean, that's where the finance came from starting the journey.
Oh, that's a lovely story. And I really want to share that because when I read that, I thought that was just wonderful story. What I want to do, I just want to go through just a couple of your brands here. But what I'm just going to add you here now, Mark, so you can look. Let me come back. Let me just take you off there. Let me had the oops. Let me do this here. I just want to come here and talk about your tea. So let me just make sure I can put you back here. All right. So this tea here, Mark, this herbal tea, it's a slimline tea. Yes?
Yes,
Tell us why this particular tea and what has been the results from this tea, Mark?
Slimline was born out of, for many years, people, whilst we were making teas, a lot of people were asking us for teas that would help them to reduce weight. And I, I, I think for the first 5 years, I didn't actually really want to do it because I personally felt that, I mean, if you want to slim, the first thing you have to work on is literally I don't eat the right things, exercise. I mean, that's my formula that I have always indicated to people if you want to lose weight. Eat the right things, cut down on your fats and so forth. But then I started to research the various herbs that could be effective in helping someone, right, to reduce weight in a natural format, because that was another thing that what I began to realize. When I started researching some of the what was sold as a slimming version of a slim tea or a slimming product, I found they all seem to have had artificial additives of some format or the other, or mineral-based substances. So I just decided to do my research, and we developed a herbal based product, that was made up of herbs that first of all aided indigestion, because that was one of the things that creates weight. I mean, it's your food, the ineffectiveness of your food to digest properly. Then, dealing with things like things that help to cleanse your blood of the impurities it has. So after, as I said, it took about 5 years to develop this particular product because it was slow. And at first I felt that, but then when I think sometimes you develop things based on annoyance, and that's one of them.
Yeah,
I
I can.
began to
Yeah,
realize that it was there's a high demand for something, and the amount of crap that was on the market that was actually more unhealthy, even if it was allowing you to slim, it probably was damaging your organs. So I eventually just decided to just do our version, and to tell the truth, within a year, it became one of our top selling teas,
yeah,
because it has a natural taste to it. It's all natural ingredients. And the reason they call it effective, because it actually is effective.
yeah.
That's a joke about it.
It there's been, I mean, there was a number of products that purport to tea products that purport to slim you. So it's great to hear that you've had some great testimonies. Can you just share with us one of the testimonies you've had about the slimming tea?
Um, Actually, let's see. Because it comes from all over the world. I mean, I know a good example is actually going back to Brixton. This is actually a restaurateur who had a lot of weight on him. Um, and I think he was about 48 waist or something like that. And then I saw him, and he actually has one of the best shops in Brixton. I will probably call his name because I know the shop is a very good shop. Healthy Eaters. And he lost a tremendous amount of weight. I said, "Wow, how did you manage to do that?" He said, "It's you. I've got a tank. I've been drinking this effective slimline that you had." And he said, I mean, it took about 6 months, and I moved from about 48 waist to 44, you know. And he said that he drank it every night. He obviously also cut down on his carbs and things like that, you know.
Good.
But he said, but he also used to suffer from a lot of indigestion, which itself contributed to it. So even the bloated weight and so forth got out of him. But I mean, I think he was the first person, because I mean, sometimes you could develop a product, but the proof is always in the pudding. You could develop it theoretically, hoping that it does the right thing. But when you actually see somebody physically who has actually lost weight, then you begin to realize, ah, in practical, it actually is working.
Yeah,
Because I mean,
that
as I
is
said,
right.
doing something in theory and then seeing it in practical. You know what I mean? Because some people do things in theory and it doesn't work in practical
And
for
that must be
whatever
such a
reason.
such a great feeling when you hear those kind of
Oh
testimonies.
yes,
You know,
oh yes, oh
the
yes,
great thing about teas, and you mentioned carbs because that's my bag here. No carbs.
yes, yes,
The great thing about teas is I also do fasting and intermittent fasting, and we can drink tea during a fast, and it doesn't break the fast. That's so
yes,
anybody watching this, if you want to fast, tea and herbal teas are great substitutes to drink during a fast, and it will not break your fast. So yes, that's a great story. Here's another one of your products, Mark. Here's another one. This one here, turmeric. Now, turmeric. I make turmeric in put turmeric in so much of my cooking in curries. I mean, there is so much evidence about the benefits of turmeric. Just tell us about this turmeric tea here, Mark, please.
Turmeric. I developed turmeric. I've got to say that one day came from a what you call a health research group. Funny enough, I mean, as I said, Brussels is the dead, but there's a Guyanese girl I met who was suffering from had cancer actually, and she managed to fight it for at least about 10 years. And I saw her on the road once, and she said, "Oh, Mark, how great to see you. I'm drinking your teas, but you have to do turmeric. I've used this turmeric and I've put black pepper and I've put ginger and I've done all these things with it, and it's reversed my cancer." And she explained to me about how turmeric is good. It gets rid of the inflammation in your system, and that a lot of diseases in your system is the carrier and the host for it is the inflammation in your system that hosts most viruses and bacteria you know. So I began to do some research in it. She also began to feed me because she was obviously using it. She had what you call it, these groups like a cancer research group about using the right natural ingredients and so forth. And she used to basically tell me the formulas that she was using to help control the cancer for her. I mean, she was actually totally instrumental. I mean, first of all, we came up with a pure turmeric. Then we came up with a turmeric and ginger. But the master of all the turmerics that we did was turmeric and black pepper, which we actually launched
Okay, interesting.
about 5-6 months ago, because black pepper, when blended with turmeric, right, increases the potency of the turmeric, right, into your blood by 2,000%,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So I've got to say that it wasn't. I mean, it is actually sometimes when in my journey, you meet people who are using these herbal remedies, telling you how they're using it in a natural form, or buying ginger or buying turmeric, blending it with this and so forth. And then they sometimes encourage me to say, why don't you consider doing this? And I listen to them, and eventually we sometimes we follow through with it. And I must say, in that case, a girl called Denise George, she was the one who encouraged me to do it, doing the turmeric lines of thing. As I said, she was a cancer sufferer. Unfortunately, she passed away early this year. I mean, it was very sad, because the funny thing is that just as I launched the turmeric and black pepper, I was calling her, and she passed away the same week, unfortunately. But I mean, as I say, in cancer, I mean, even people who take was it chemo, right? It could
Chemotherapy.
only carry you for so long. You know what I mean to
Yes.
say? But she was able to control and keep cancer away from her for almost 10 years, just using herbal remedies. But I think, unfortunately, early this year, it came back with a vengeance, and literally, like in 3-4 weeks, just knocked her out. But I must
I,
have to salute her for what she's taught me.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, even the diet that I use, the ketogenic diet, it's been known to reverse cancer, but in many instances, it's also been known to ease the cancer and prolong people's life, which is what you're talking about with your tea there. So
Mm.
that's an excellent story. Do you know? I just want to ask, your teas, are they all in tea bags, or do you have any loose leaves tea?
No, they're all in tea bags. Occasionally, we do the Cersei in a loose format,
Mm-hmm.
but that's how we started. But it's only seasonal. So because
Okay.
there's still a lot of people, we actually plan on eventually bringing a lot of them back in a loose format. But I think I have to get that one done straight from the Caribbean. I mean, and it's really about training the guys down there to package things properly.
Yes.
We bring our stuff in bulk over here, and we actually have our own machines and tea bag machines and everything that does it over here. But as you know, if you bring a product over here and you begin, it's labor intensive. It become very expensive to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, let me remind the audience, if anyone has a question for Mark while we're talking, I'll try and leave the chat up as often as I can. So please put that question inside there. Here's a question from Mr. P. He says, Mark, do you do morning tea?
No, moringa.
Oh, moringa, sorry, me. Yeah, and I've got my glasses on as well, innit? Do you do moringa tea?
Yes, of course. We do moringa tea. We do a range of moringa teas.
uh,
Pure moringa, moringa with ginger, and moringa with peppermint, moringa with green tea. We actually have 4 lines of green tea. So we did the pure version. As you know, moringa is one of the most powerful herbs
yeah,
you have out there,
yes, it is.
in terms of the nutrients it has. I mean, it's about
Uh,
7 times the calcium of milk. I think it's about
yes,
7 times the vitamin C of
yes,
orange. So that had to be a must, definitely. We took
good.
there again. We took a little while sometimes with some products. It came on the market about 15 years back. We really wanted to understand it a bit. It took about 5 years studying it a lot, and then we
Okay.
didn't just bring it with just pure moringa. We decided to blend it with other things that
Uh,
had brought other benefits again with it. So we had to
okay.
end up with over 4 different
Okay.
lines of moringa teas.
Okay. Mr. P, look, be nice. Hey, look, I took you out on Wednesday in the Sugar Smash, so I know you're trying to get me back now with the glasses, all right? So just be nice today, all right? Because Wednesday's going to come. You didn't like the way I buzzed you on Wednesday. I know that. Okay, fair enough. You got me today. Yeah, I know moringa's fantastic. I mean, I've taken that in its various forms. Let's go back to the final tea I just want to share with you, and you can just tell us about that. And it's this one here, soursop. I saw, and I thought, soursop tea? And I thought, tell us about soursop tea, please, Mark.
Soursop is mainly for cancer, actually. I'm afraid, sorry again, I've got to reference Dennis George, because I couldn't understand what she was doing with the soursop in her blend. And And she told me that was actually one of the, even more so than the turmeric. The turmeric was to do with inflammation, but the soursop itself was to do with controlling the cancer. So, as you know, we went off and I went off and literally did a lot of research on soursop. And true to say, I mean, a lot of research has been done on soursop with regards to controlling cancer cells, the growth of cancer cells. So, I mean, in our true natural format, we headed back down to the Caribbean because, I mean, I grew up in Guyana eating soursop as a fruit, but not necessarily drinking the leaves as a tea. Although saying that when I actually went back down to Guyana and I went into the rural areas in the villages and I started meeting some of the elders from the villages, they were actually drinking soursop from time, I don't know, 100 years ago, and they knew that it's used for all these things. But what's interesting with these things is that it just stayed at a village level, you know. And I think that's what's important to people like myself who come from a scientific background and applying technology to old traditional stuff from the Caribbean and bringing it into this, what we will call the first world. I mean, although sometimes I wonder whether this is the first world or we were the first world. It's just that we might not have packaged it properly, but we always knew these things and the greatness of a lot of these herbs that we are using these days.
Yeah,
so I mean, even in terms of herbal teas, I mean, it's not nothing new to the Caribbean. It's not nothing new to Africa. It'll be used for years. I mean, people say, what do you know about herbal tea? I said, I mean, my great-great-grandmother and grandfather was drinking this stuff. You guys call it herbal teas. No, it's just that we call it bush tea.
That's right. And
So,
the soursop, it kind of makes my heart flutter because when my mum was alive, unfortunately, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was a little bit too frail to be able to have the kind of chemotherapy. So, I did all my research as much as I can, and there was a number of things that I got for her to help, and one of them was soursop. One of them was soursop, the soursop leaf, and she boiled it, and I got it in all its forms. And yes, when you do your research on soursop, it shows it's even more effective in some studies than chemotherapy, and it's natural.
Yep.
So when I saw you did soursop tea, I thought that's absolutely wonderful, Mark. Really, really wonderful.
Yes. Very powerful tea, very powerful.
Great.
As I said, I mean, these things I've learned mainly from people who have been suffering from these things.
Yes.
It's not a situation where I've just gotten up one morning and it looks nice or something like that.
So Mark, I'm looking in the eye now here. How do your teas taste? Tell me the truth. How do your teas taste? Because they're herbal. Because I know if I was given something as medicine, I know growing up I got to hold my nose. How do your teas taste, Mark?
I'll tell you the truth, right? The majority of teas have a good taste. There's only two teas that we actually have that I would say probably are extremely pungent. I mean, is the bitter ones, which is neem and the cerasee, which is bitter. Yes.
What is neem?
Okay.
What is neem? Tell us what neem is, please, Mark.
Neem is something similar to cerasee, but it's actually even more bitter. But people use neem and cerasee a lot for diabetes, controlling blood sugar levels. Yeah.
Yep.
And also the neem bush is also used as a mosquito repellent and things like that. Okay. But, those are the bitter teas. Then we have nice tasting teas, lovely tasting teas like lemongrass and chamomile and peppermint, chai masala. Then you got the ginger flavors. People who love ginger, they know that get it for. I mean, a testimonial we had many years ago before I actually used the word strong. Right, is that someone made a testimony about 20 years back. Oh, I love Dalgety teas. I could use one tea bag and make 3 cups of tea.
I was going to ask you that question. I was actually going to ask you that, Mark. How many cups you could make for one cup, for one tea bag?
Exactly. But I never made it. I was just trying to make sure if I say we'll be selling ginger, it must taste like ginger. That was the
strong.
concept. It wasn't about trying to make it strong.
It's strong.
The word strong came from the market. Because people will walk along, oh, did you drink that Dalgety tea? Oh, it's nice and strong. I feel the ginger in my chest. I feel the peppermint in my nose, right? And then we realized, hey, by the way, that's a good USP to use. The word strong.
Definitely, absolutely.
But I didn't make it up. I mean, I was just trying to be natural and genuine with what I'm selling, And then you just started hearing the word strong. Like, hey, by the way, I need to put that in my package probably.
So your tea bags on average, What is it? 1 cup you can make from 1 tea bag or 2?
You know what? I mean, obviously 1 tea bag for 1 cup. But I mean, I'm
Okay.
just saying what many people do.
Okay.
They say that, I mean, they could use one of our tea bags to make 2 and 3 cups of tea. So we don't sell it on the basis that you can make 2 or 3 cups. I mean, I'm just indicating to you what many
Okay.
people said they use our tea bags to do. We just try to make sure you make a very strong, 100% natural, strong flavor tea. That's what we sell. But then there's
Absolutely.
always the bonus, as
Yeah.
I said to people, how would you like to know that if you wanted a strong cup of tea and you bought the Twinings, you have to put 3 or 4 tea bags to make
Yes.
that 1 cup. I
Yes.
mean, versus having 1 tea bag and you could make 2 or 3 cups.
Yeah.
We actually had many years ago. I had a complaint. Okay, I don't know. I think it might have been a non-black person said, "Oh, I bought this ginger. It was so strong. It made me red." I'm like, well, that's a bit of unusual complaint. I said, but I mean, if it's too strong, why don't you just add more water? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's better to be too strong and you add more
Yeah.
water than
Absolutely.
you want it
They,
to be strong and
they're
have to
getting a
put
good
two, three
quality
tea bags.
product. They're getting a good, it's like going to a bar and complaining because it's not, the drinks are not watered down.
Exactly.
So okay, so what do we have here? Mr. P saying soursop is a large green prickly fruit. Okay, so you just tell him about soursop, Mr. P. Do you know? I have to. So I think there's a question just come. It says, Mark, has any research? This is from Donovan. Mark, has any research been done on any of these teas in helping type 2 diabetes? Donovan, we're going to touch on that in a moment. Definitely, I am going to ask that question. That's a great question, Donovan. We're going to touch on that. And then Mr. P says, I don't know what they call it in Gambia, West Gambia. Okay, but that type 2 diet, we're going to touch on that. Just give us a minute, Donovan, and we'll answer. So hold that there. Mark, I know your journey hasn't always been easy, like any business. But I know because the tea market is so competitive, I know you've had your moments where competitors have tried to crush you. And I know that recently, or at least you had a little victory. Without going too deep, Mark, if you care to share, because I think it's great for people to hear that. Can you share that story? Is it something you can share publicly or
Yeah,
not?
it's not a problem.
Go
I mean,
ahead.
the thing about when you're in business for 25 years,
Yes.
you go through numerous battles. I mean,
Yes.
I think one of my friends said to me, "Man, you're just battle hardened now." You know what I mean? I've had everything from hostile takeovers to replication to, I mean, you name it. I mean, in different formats and
Yeah.
all kinds of, distributors trying to take over your distribution routes. People work with me, try to copy what I've done. I said we've had companies that came in as in a goodwill and tried to take over the company, destroy the brand, you name it. Set up factories in Jamaica, went wrong, lost every single thing, came back from the dead. The last one was quite interesting as you spoke about because one of my major distributors basically had replicated our teas, and I mean I'm going to call the name because it's a real story anyhow, which is a
It's
company
your
called
choice. You go ahead.
yeah,
The
it's a
platform's
company
yours.
called Tropical Sun, and they were our major distributors. Replicated all the lines of our teas. Basically, the way they would have worked it is because they were distributing the teas. If someone orders Dalgety, they send their line, they put a consent and said, "Oh, Dalgety's out of business, so he doesn't have stock." I don't know, the ship sank in the sea, or whatever the excuse is. And one of the strategic moves they had made, we were already listed in St. Tesco and Asda about 10, 15 years back. And they had managed to have our products removed from the shelves of Asda and their one was positioned there. A lot to do with this probably your price, I reckon. I mean, sometimes these guys, I mean, when certain companies come in to fight you, I mean, sometimes they may use a pricing situation, even if they're running their product as a loss leader. The idea is to just put you out of position until you're dead, and then they could put their price back up. So I think that's what they might have done with Asta. But they last there for about a year and a half, 2 years. But luckily enough, as I said, we persevered and we managed to get them knocked out of Asta 2 months ago in September, and we were
Well
positioned
done.
right back at
Great
Asta.
news.
And that was like the final because I mean, they almost got Sainsbury, but we managed to squeeze back in. We had Tesco's already, but they held on to Asta like I don't know, bull terrier. No matter what we did. But then What the strategic thing we'd actually done, because I mean, at the end of the day, the buyers in these supermarkets are always looking at what's going on in the independent market. And one of the major strategic things we've done is that over the last 3-4 years, we launched almost about 18 new lines of teas.
So
And
18, you launched
yes,
18.
yes, that's when I
Wow.
brought out all the turmerics and the moringa blends and all kinds of stuff. And basically, what we began to convince shopkeepers was that instead of you having 3-4 different brands of peppermint or 3-4 different brands of of a turmeric or whatever tea it is, right? You should have a variety of teas. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
we end up forming families for each one of the teas. We call them a family. So if you do turmeric, we'll do turmeric with some other blends so that you don't just be drinking pure turmeric. You have turmeric with ginger, you have turmeric with black pepper, or the moringa is a good example. Pure moringa, moringa with green tea, moringa with peppermint, moringa with ginger, right? And so we began to give them that choice to say, look, it's better to have a variety. So we began to hug the shelves, and I actually put back salesmen on the road direct. We began to have distribution deals whereby no one is allowed to have no exclusivity in the whole market. Yeah, we control in the streets, but you could look after the big multiples for certain sectors of the market. So by doing that, we began to get back the dominance in the market instead of
Great.
depending on certain parts of the country for people depending on us and being in control of our growth. And I think that showed fully us be getting back into the Asda scenario.
Yeah, and I think I think that's a great story, and I think it's great to hear that story, to say that the little man, so to speak, could still triumph against the big man. I know your tea can specifically deal with a couple of ailments because I saw it on your website, and I'm gonna come back to you in just a few moments, Mark, and we're just going to talk about how your tea can help flu, and particularly which teas they should take, and for diabetes as well. So just bear with me for a minute while I just talk about some things that are happening later in the week where I share with the audience some things. Just bear with me a minute, please, if you could. So I mean, it's phenomenal to hear Mark talk about his teas, and he's going to be talking a little bit more about how drinking tea, which has been happening since ancient times, can help you. But I just want to share with you some things that are happening with myself, which I'm really excited about. I did a soft launch with my tribe weight loss community back in August. I'm so pleased to say that is on now, in full, ready and open. Now you can see a picture there when I was 53 years old. Well, that's how I looked. Well, this is me at 56 years old. I'm 57 years old now. And it's incredible to think that I feel I can improve the way I look as I get older. And that's simply because of my lifestyle. So the question is, look, if you're aged over 40, if you need to lose weight, if you want to gain more energy, because I have far more energy now than I've ever had, all right? And if you want to improve your health, look, Tribe can help you. I've spent so much time investing in the back end, and I was so good to hear Mark talk about his quality and the standard that he aims for, because it's the same standard that I aim for in Tribe. It's a membership community, and where you pay a monthly membership, and we form a community of people who live this lifestyle, because it's easy to lose weight, but it's so easy to put it back on again. All right, so look, there's a 14-day free trial. You don't have to pay anything at all. Nothing at all. You can just go to the website, register at leanlifestyletribe.com, and you can try Tribe out absolutely free for 14 days. If you like it, you stay. If you don't like it, then at least you will be benefited, because there is actually a 14-day program that I take you through for the first 14 days. All right. So just go to the website and register for absolutely free, and try Tribe out for 14 days. And if you like it, you can stay. And it's £29 a month, which is less than £1 a day. But the 14-day trial is free, and you get access to all my recipes, all the recipes in Tribe. So go to leanlifestyletribe.com and register. It has opened its doors for you today, and I'm so excited about Tribe and helping so many more people in the months and years to come. And also, listen, men, we had our men's show back in November. I have this Lean Brotherhood program starting on the 2nd of January 2021 to February, a 30-day program. Listen, it's for men only. It is for men only, you know. I'm going to hold another one for couples, but this one is particularly for men because we know that men don't really look after themselves as much as they should do. And men, we want to make men powerful in 2021. And you cannot be effective in your work unless you're well and healthy. So if you need to lose weight or reverse your pre-diabetes, men, this is the program for you. We're talking about personalized group coaching from myself. You get 7 days access to me on this program. It is awesome. I held it last year for a mixed group and it just went phenomenal. So that's going to happen this year. And if you register, you can just go to the L.E.A.N MindBody Coach, which is my main website, and you can register for this. But here what? Guess what? If you register before the 14th of February, you will get over 700, let me repeat that, £700 worth of bonuses. And these are real bonuses. Go there, have a look for yourself. I just want to pack it in. I really want to add some value. So go to the website, have a look at the Brotherhood program. If you register before the 14th of December, you will get £700 of real bonuses. So I'm so excited about that program, and I know there's going to be some great testimonies back from there. Listen, every week on a Wednesday, I hold Lean Bites Live. I'll be back here on 7 o'clock this coming Wednesday. And the topic this week, it was going to be stress, but I've had a few requests. Ken, how do you actually start a low carb diet? What do you need to do? What do you need to do to start a low carb diet? All right. So on Wednesday, I'm going to lay the foundations of what you need to do to be able to start a low carb sugar reduction diet. That's Lean Bites Live. And next week, Monday, I'm so excited. I've got my first international guest. I know he's on the line. He's watching the show today, Dr. Isaiah Joseph, and he wrote a book with some fantastic low carb recipes. He's from the USA, so it's my first international guest. My first one. So I can then say I've got an international show, I think. It's great. I've been communicating with him. So I'm really looking forward to the show with Dr. Isaiah next week, Make Health Your Habit Live. And, you know, if you want my book, which is the L.E.A.N MindBody Method, just go to the L.E.A.N MindBody Coach. You know, it focuses on 4 areas: nutrition, exercise, sleep, fantastic testimonies. Just go there, take a look. It's $14.99, some great topics there. And listen, if you want to try low carb, for 5 days, you can go to either the leanmindbodycoach.com or leanlifestyletribe.com, and you'll get this 5-day meal plan. Now, let me just give you a sneak peek what's inside there. This is one of the meals. This is what you call garlic trout. Yes, a low carb meal. Another, jerk chicken with my own personal jerk sauce. The jerk sauce recipe is in there. I had the jerk lamb just over the weekend. Another recipe, curry salmon. That recipe is in there, free of charge. You can get that recipe, sugar-free. It will not pile any weight on your waist at all. These are just some of the recipes. And listen, and every single recipe has a detailed shopping list, and it has, you can see the shopping list there. It has detailed recipe instructions. All right. So go to either the leanmindbodycoach.com or Lean Lifestyle Tribe, and you can download it free. All you've got to do is register for the mailing list. All right. So that's enough for the advert today. But I just want to add value, and everything I try to do is definitely add value. But this meal plan is great. So go to leanmindbodycoach.com or leanlifestyletribe.com. And once you come off the page, just move your mouse off the page, and then the menu will come down. All right. So that's fantastic. So Mark, coming back to you now. Let me come back to you, Mark. I looked at your site, and you know, I've read some testimonies. Let's talk about some specific ailments here now. Let's talk about diabetes. Now, my lifestyle is about reversing pre-diabetes and reversing diabetes. And it's so great that you have a product that can aid in that. So you've obviously got some testimony. If someone come to you and they said they had diabetes, obviously they have to do other things, but your teas can aid in that. What teas would you recommend to them, Mark?
The 2 main teams for diabetes is actually Soursop and the L.E.A.N. I mean, normally we don't like to say we're telling someone, well, I mean, sometimes people go, oh, how many tea bags you need or how many cups of tea. We don't tend to, because I mean, I'm not a medical practitioner as such, you know. Or all I could go on is basically testimonials of people who would have had diabetes. And interestingly enough, one of the people which had controlled her diabetes for many years, believe it or not, is an aunt I had who lived to almost 85 years old. And then, I mean, the irony of the matter is that I never knew I was ever end up going to make teas in the first case. But my aunt was diagnosed with diabetes when she was, I think, about 37 years old or something like that, you know. And she was one of the first people when I was small had me drinking Cersei, and I really hated it. I mean, I hated it with a passion. I mean, I obviously I didn't know I was going to end up making it, put it in a tea bag and drinking it myself.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
but you know, it was interesting when as I got older, and I mean, she lived on that. She lived on this Cersei tea, you know, since that day, and she controlled her diabetes and lived almost well just over 85 years drinking that Cersei. I could remember when eventually I started making the Cersei tea bags. She moved off to began to live in America, and I mean every month I used to mail her the Cersei tea, you know, and I mean at least from a personal level, that's one person I knew that was able to control her diabetes from her age of 37 to 85, just drinking mainly Cersei tea. But as I said, I mean, as a company or as a person, I don't necessarily say to people, well, I know you're going to be totally cured or so. The word I tend to use is that it seems as though it controls the diabetes. I don't think you could use a word as strong as that it cures it. You know, I can remember years ago I was doing an exhibition, and a woman came to me and said, "Oh, that's Cersei tea. It's not good for my diabetes. When I drink it, it disappears. And when I stop drinking, it comes back. It's hiding the diabetes." And I'm like,
that is funny, Mark.
I,
That is
I mean,
funny.
I was lost for words. I mean, I said, but I mean, when you drink the Cersei, the diabetes disappeared. She said, but you stopped drinking it, it came back. So the diabetes was hiding. The Cersei was hiding her diabetes. You know. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's it.
So
So
I mean,
let's just make this clear, Mark. I mean, and I say this on my show as well. You know, we're not medical practitioners. I'm a certified health coach, but we're still not medical practitioners, and we advise everybody to do their own research. What we're doing, it is just based on the feedback that you have received. That these are
yes.
the recommendations that you would get. Now, also, that's great that you're signed up for the 5-day meal plan. Great. Give me some feedback about the how you feel the recipes go. I just want to again ask you about the another ailment, which is indigestion. If someone had indigestion, what might be one of your teas that could help them?
Peppermint, definitely, and one of the great ones are actually and ginger. I mean, ginger in general is actually good for your digestive system. Peppermint itself is good for indigestion and wind. Yeah. So I mean, we've got a range of peppermint teas and a range of ginger teas. We do obviously a pure peppermint, but then we also do peppermint, cinnamon, and peppermint. Funny enough, cinnamon is also supposed to be good for diabetes. So cinnamon peppermint is the interesting one because there's a combination of both diabetes and indigestion.
Yeah,
And then
could
we
I
do the
interject there, Mark? Could I mix two tea bags in the same cup? Have you heard
Oh, of
about?
course, of
Okay,
course. I mean, people do
okay,
that all the time. I mean, people make up their own concoctions. Sometimes that's how we develop blends. I mean, you know, a good example is that even like the case of our lemon and ginger, which is strong in ginger. I mean, I can remember the early days before we made it. I found a lot of West Indians buying lemon and ginger from the brand called Twinings, which is more lemony than gingery. And then they went home and grated more ginger inside of it. So I went to one, I saw my mom doing it and thought, what the hell? I mean, why don't I make a lemon and ginger that's strong in ginger? You know? But you know, people, you know, a lot of blends are based on consumers themselves telling me, oh, I do this or I do that.
great.
I mean, like sorrel and ginger is a good example. Some people say to me, oh, I make a hot cup of sorrel, but you know what? I put it in the fridge and I freeze it. It makes me a perfect sorrel drink like Christmas time. I don't have to wait until Christmas to make my cool drink. Then I went to a bar. I saw a guy using our sorrel and ginger to make a concoction with this rum punch. I mean, and then eventually Carnival, we did that because I mean, we began to realize, hey, why you tell people just drink the sorrel and drink the ginger as a hot drink? So we had backpacks at Carnival, and we were there, you know, pouring it into people's rum, pouring it into people's drink, so that it could get a flavor. So I mean, a lot of times, a lot of lens and development is based on what people are actually saying, and we listen to the road.
Absolutely. I just want to remind people that we're coming to an end of the show soon. If you have a question for Mark, please put it in the chat. Let's see if we can get Mark to answer your question as we come to the last 5 minutes or so of the show. Mark, before I ask you the last question, do you have to worry about any form of allergic reaction with teas? Is there anything you have to be mindful about? You know?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, the interesting thing about using things that are natural, right? I mean, is that it rarely forms. I mean, in my 25 years, I've never really met anyone who said, well, I've had such and such a tea and it's created an allergic reaction. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but all I always say to people that, for instance, I mean, in anything you use, I don't think you should go over the top, especially to something like Cersei, which is good for your diabetes. I mean, people say how much I should drink. I would normally say to them, I mean, I don't think you should drink more than 2 cups a day. I mean, not because you know it's good for diabetes, you're going to have 10 cups a day. I mean, as they say, too much of anything is not good for you, you know?
Yes.
So, I mean, especially like say Cersei or Neem, most other teas I think you could drink, like peppermint, I think you drink 10 cups because I mean it's just a natural product. It gets rid of the indigestion and so forth, you
Okay.
know. But I always say to be, within moderation, 15, 20 of one thing. I mean, you could drink 10 cups of tea, but have 10 varieties,
Yeah.
not 10 of the same thing.
Absolutely. Um,
you
uh,
know?
we're gonna answer Misha. We're gonna answer your question in just a moment about where can you get the range of teas. All right. So we're gonna answer that in a moment. But I just want to ask you for the last one. You also mentioned on your blog. You also mentioned flu, Mark. Which one of your teas have people noted have helped them with flu?
Flu, mainly ginger. But saying that, um, I'll go back to Cersei again. And that's me personally. If I've ever got any form of flu symptoms, at an early stage, I dose myself. I put about 3 tea bags of Cersei and want to start drinking that.
Mm.
And I found it always, I mean, you
Do
find
you
yourself
hold you
sweating in
hold
the
you
night.
hold your nose though? You got to hold your nose when you're drinking that
Yes,
one.
yes, yes, yes. Well, I mean, I don't hold my nose anymore. I'm accustomed to it.
Oh, you okay?
I'm a big boy now.
Okay, all right.
you know. But then sometimes I would take the Cersei and then blend and brew that with the lemon and ginger, right? And I find that is very, because we don't actually do Cersei with any other tea. All the Cersei is always pure. So for
Okay.
me, with the flu symptoms, Cersei with say a lemon and ginger, right? Or with sorrel because they're high in vitamin C. Lemon is high in vitamin C. Sorrel is
Yes.
high in vitamin C.
Yes.
So to me, using a concoction like that is effective with flu. I mean, that's just my
Okay.
personal my
Okay.
personal
That's great. Ladies and gentlemen, look, get your last questions here. We're going to come to a close in a moment. There are a couple of last questions I want to ask you. Firstly, what is your favorite tea in your brand? What is your personal favorite?
That's a very difficult question. I'll tell you the truth that happens to me, right?
Yeah. Good.
Sometimes I drink one of our teas and I'm like, oh, this is nice. And I may be drinking sorrel and ginger. And then you're into sorrel and ginger, probably even a month, right?
Yes.
And then one day you're home and there's not a box in the cupboard and you say, and you pick up a lemongrass. I haven't done this for the last time, for a long time. And then you drink it. Yeah, this actually tastes very nice. So then
Yes.
you get into the level. So what happens is like a perpetual cycle that I go through every 2-3 months where I begin to drink a particular one of them. So it's actually very difficult to say that there's one specific one because sometimes you haven't drank one for a long time and you forget how it tasted, and then you drink it and you suddenly think to yourself, this actually
Mm.
doesn't taste too bad after all. You
Good.
know?
Good. And the other and the final question around that is okay. So we have a question here from Isaiah. Can your tea products be found in the United States? This is Isaiah because he's in the United States.
Yes, but it's not widespread. I've got a distributor out in Atlanta, Georgetown Supermarket. I've also got an online presence it's called Brown Line. I can't remember the name. It's Brown Line something. I mean, I could send that to Ken later on to post and give it to you.
Yes.
But saying that, we head into America now. I'm in the process of setting up a Dalgety North American branch where we're going to take control over distribution, because we've had a very sporadic journey in America. From different times we've had good distribution, lost it, or it's gone in a
Yes.
quirky manner. We've got a small distributor out in Atlanta pushing it at the moment, but we're actually now working in a major big way. I mean, very structured manner to hit the US market in 2021 with Dalgety.
Good, good. I mean, Mr. P is saying he's drinking your lemongrass tea right now, currently. So you have a big fan there, and I know that someone earlier on, they described you as a legend. They said, you're a legend. So you definitely have some fans out there in what you do. So my final question before we find out how, just where people can contact you and XYZ is, on your journey, what would you say was your biggest high? On your journey,
My biggest
so far,
high.
the biggest high so far. What would you say is your biggest high?
I think one of the first highs, or the biggest high, was probably having my first tea bag machine. My first factory, the factory when I first set up my own factory, which was in Charlton. I mean, because when I first started, I couldn't actually afford my own tea bag machine. And I think probably that's one thing that a lot of people don't get into the tea business. The cheapest tea bag machine was about, I don't know, 45, 50,000 pounds, and that was like about 25 years ago, And I obviously couldn't afford one, so I was actually renting one from someone to use in theirs when they weren't using it. And I think my real high is when I was able to actually have my own my first tea bag machine that I still have. It is not used now. It's like an ornament to me right now. And seeing that first tea bag roll off of that machine was definitely something that I cherish.
I can believe that. I can believe that was something that you would have cherished there. If you have any last questions for Mark, please get them in now. Any last questions? Is this show recorded to listen to again? Yes, it's actually recorded on YouTube. So if you're watching it on YouTube, you can go to YouTube and watch it on the link if you sent the link, you can just go there after the show's finished and watch the show again. And or you can go to the L.E.A.N MindBodyCoach.com, and it will be on there in about a day or so. But it was actually on YouTube now. So once this show's finished, you could just press the link and refresh it, and it will start again. So hopefully that answers your question, Michelle. And thank you very much, and Tegan, Ali, for appreciate the fact that you think the topic's interesting. Absolutely. So Mark, great talking to you, Mark. So the question is, if people want to get first of all, your teas, where are the places they sold, your website, the whole gamut, please. Just let us know how we can get hold of them.
First choice is obviously you can get it on our website, which is www.dalgety.co, which is just co, not com.
I know you should. If they Google your site, I know there's a link that goes to your new site as well. So
yes. But it's just dalgety.co.
Yeah, okay.
Apart from the website, that's the first choice. You could obviously find it in the world food section in Sainsbury's, Tesco, and Asda. Not in the tea section.
Yes, that's right.
Ken just told me he was walking all over looking for it in the tea section. I'm afraid we're in the world food section with the Caribbean foods.
Okay.
So that's where you'll find it in Sainsbury's, Tesco, and Asda. Selected ones, not all of them.
Okay.
And then obviously our biggest market is in I could almost say any independent ethnic grocery shop selling Afro-Caribbean foods right across the United Kingdom. We supply over 2,000-3,000 of them. Anywhere you will see yam and plantains or any form of West Indian foods, Dalgety tea is the king in there.
And how many in your range? How many teas in your range, Mark?
It's about 30. So we do instant. 30. We have different ranges. We have instant teas. We have ginger teas. We have turmeric teas, moringa teas, peppermint blended teas, green teas.
Yeah, I remember the peppermint.
You spell for choice.
Yeah, the peppermint. My mum used to, especially when she had wind or gas. Peppermint, drink peppermint tea.
Yes.
That.
Yes.
Mr. P said, you're a great guest. He said, big up, Mark. As you can see that we've got a question here from Blondell. She says, are there any teas that are good for people with kidney disease? I don't know. It's just a question. I don't know how you would
Cersei,
answer.
I'm afraid it's Cersei again.
Cersei seems to be the
I have,
panacea. It's a
yeah,
panacea.
because you see, Cersei is a blood purifying tea.
Yes.
As I said, I mean, personally, I mean, before the diabetes scenario, even as I grew up in Guyana, when I first began to really try to drink the Cersei, to tell the truth, as a teenager, I think I was about 14, I had a lot of pimples on my face. The same aunt that had me drinking the Cersei, I could remember used to asking my cousins in America and England to send me all these creams. I was putting it on my face. I was sleeping with the cream on my face. And the goddamn bumps were never leaving. And she said, you need some good Cersei to drink.
Cersei tea.
And I think,
Yes.
and I'm afraid, I think I was going on a date and I was really conscious of these bumps. You know, one of my first dates, she was 14 years old. So
Okay.
the week before, I dosed myself with a Cersei, man. And I tell you what, that was the end of pimples on my face. It just cleansed my body. And I mean, I don't know, with the kidney part, I mean, some people have said to me they use it for the kidneys, mainly because I think it's back to the whole blood purification scenario.
Yes. So if anything, Michelle, Blondell, I'm sorry, just go with the Cersei. And just as a side note,
and sorrel also. Sorrel is good for your diuretic system.
Yeah.
High in vitamin C. I've read that one there. I haven't that much testimonials in it, but I read that sorrel is good for your kidneys and for your diuretic system.
Yeah, teas are diuretic. Anyway, it helps you to pass water anyway, which is great.
Yes.
And as a side note, I'm sure I read once that some people use their tea bag and then take the tea bag and use it on their plant as to help their plants grow. I'm sure I read that somewhere. I don't know if you've heard that before, but that's just as a side note, just to share.
Oh, no. I've seen that. I mean, my sister
you've heard
does
that
it,
too?
my mom does it,
okay.
my wife does it. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Well, I was told that it helps the plants. I mean,
that's
mean,
right.
But yeah, that's what I was told.
So
but I mean, I don't have plants myself. So, but
that's
I mean,
right.
I mean, they're all smiling when they put them inside it. So I reckon it's doing
so
something.
the next big thing is your transition, your journey into the USA, and Mark, I from the moment I started to speak to you, I love that your journey first started with creating something of standard, a quality product. So, and that shows in everything you do, in the design, in the quality of the product, and I think you're a testament to people, and you're a testament for coming from the Caribbean. You're doing something, and you're doing a global business. I think it's a great inspiration to anybody watching you today. That you started out with £1,000, came up with an idea, and you just persisted, and now you have a product that is sold in so many places around the world. And I think it's a great inspiration. I really thank you for taking the time out, Mark, for coming on the show.
Thank you also for inviting me. And I must say, what you are doing is also good and important because, as we know, I mean, as you head into your 40s and your 50s, it's so true. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's important to take the importance of your body and looking after your body. And I think what you're doing is a marvelous job in terms of the dieting of people. I mean, even keeping this podcast, trying to keep people active, listening to you, having people sign on your tribe stuff. I think that's absolutely great. I'm personally going to definitely be recommending it to people. I mean, I try to even I'm trying to make sure that I'm exercising every morning. I actually get up at 5:45, 5:30, and I do 10K walk.
Wow,
I'm not a running type. I do a walk, to say, and I've made it into a habit. I started a year ago. Whether it's snowing, raining, or whatever, I put on my boots and I'm out there.
Good.
Full stop. But I'm just trying to. I use the word steady Eddie when I get up, and when I don't want to get up, I've got this motto. I said, the only bad workout is the one that you didn't do.
Do. Absolutely. Yeah,
the one that you didn't do.
Yeah,
so just get up and do something. And I mean, I think it's great what you're doing. Definitely.
Thank you very much, man. And Donovan, thank you for your feedback there. Really pleased that you like the show, and we'll be here every week. Yeah, we'll be here every week. This was all new to me 7 weeks ago, and I'm growing and learning and developing, and it's great just hearing the stories from our guests because as well as I'm trying to allow people to learn, I learn every single time, and and I get inspired every time. And again, next week we have Dr. Isaiah. I know he's listening. I really look forward to having my first international guest. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can like the video, but also just subscribe. Just press that button and subscribe so you'll be notified whenever we hold another podcast, which is going to be on Wednesday. And for everybody who's taken their time out to comment, you help make the show. Yes, your participation helps make the show, and I'm grateful for that, because you could have been doing so much today, but you chose to not only watch the show but to participate and ask questions, and I really appreciate that. And hopefully you will continue coming, and I'll continue bringing shows where you can feel engaged and participated in. So really thank you for everybody who's made a comment today on the show. But we'll be back here next week, in the Make Health Your Habit show. And as I like to end these shows with, listen, especially in lockdown or throughout, there are so many habits that we could develop. Bad habits, good habits. But the best habit you could ever develop is to make health your habit. Listen,